these people really can move a lot differently than people that don't have anything to their name or don't come from families that necessarily carry this type of wealth. Highly disrespectful to tell someone to pull themselves up by the bootstraps, especially knowing good and freaking well that you have never had to get nothing off the mud a day in your life. Stop letting rich people trick you into thinking that the reason why you're not successful is because you're lazy and you don't work hard. People are cheaters, thieves, scammers, schemers, greedy, and trifling, and will do whatever it takes, whatever they need to do in order to be able to get to the top. And they do not care who they have to step on in order to do it. Because at the end of the day, the love of money is the root of all evil. Hey guys, what is up? It is Cam. Welcome back to my channel. Alright, so in today's video, we are going to be talking about nepotism, Nepo babies, and the fact that nepotism breeds success. Like, I almost don't care who you are, especially if you are considered a nepotism baby. 9 times out of 10, you are pretty much on the fast track to success, and in a lot of cases, if you are not successful in some sort of way, then it's almost like you have wasted the opportunity of nepotism. Especially if your parents or the lineage or generations that you come from have made a very good and solid name for themselves. And so after seeing a lot of discourse online about nepotism and Nepo babies, especially over the last month, and just seeing what actual nepotism babies had to say about what others had to say about their success, along with how other people feel about the ways in which nepotism and children born into nepotism are able to benefit from those opportunities, it was just a very, very interesting dialogue that sparked. And so I want to get into the conversation and sort of do a little bit of a deep dive into the world of nepotism and really figure out what these Nepo babies are all about. You know what I mean? So before we get into it, if you have not already, make sure you go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up, as well as hitting the subscribe button and clicking the notification bell next to it so you never miss another one of my videos. Guys, we are on the road to 20,000 subscribers. I am literally so excited. So if you've been watching my videos, if you've been binge watching me, if you've seen me pop up on your timeline more than one time and you've clicked on my videos and you like what you see, make sure you are subscribed, because like most of you guys that watch my content are not subscribed. Make sure you're subscribed. Yes, I'm talking to you. Go ahead, click the subscribe button, click the notification bell, make sure you never miss another one of my uploads, and just come be a part of the family. The vibes are immaculate over here. And if you want to follow my beauty and lifestyle content, you can subscribe to my second channel. I will have all of that information on the screen as well as linked down below. And then if you want to keep up with me outside of YouTube, you can follow me on all my social media. Again, everything will be on the screen and linked down below. And without further ado, let's get into it. So I kind of want to start this video off by talking about nepotism in and of itself, because I feel like it is a word that has been tossed around, especially a lot in the last month. But over the course of time, we have heard of nepotism and sort of babies born out of nepotism or children born out of nepotism time and time again. And it's definitely not something that's particularly new, but I feel like a lot of people in our generation are just starting to notice or realize that some of their favorite stars and celebrities or even influencers are actually what one might consider a Nepo baby or born out of nepotism or into nepotism. I don't know the technical term. Basically are attached to fame, wealth, success, and celebrity in some cases because of nepotism. And so like always, I want to start off with just giving a basic definition of nepotism so that we can all be on the same page about what it means. Nepotism is the practice among those with power or influence of favoring relatives or friends, especially by giving them jobs. And so basically with the definitions that I found, I kind of went ahead and compiled all of them to create sort of my own understanding of the word nepotism, and this is what I came up with. Nepotism is a type of favoritism, and when it comes to getting jobs and opportunities, i.e. sponsorships, brand deals, and brand upstarts, it's based on kinship, aka who you're related to. And so when it comes to nepotism, it is literally littered and spread all throughout our society, and I'm specifically speaking for the United States because that is where I live, but it's pretty much everywhere, especially in Hollywood and in the entertainment industry in general. But it also goes a lot deeper than that, and it can be found literally in any industry, probably in the entire professional job sector. Like, nepotism is something that tends to run incredibly deep, and the benefits of it are absolutely insane, because most of the time rich and famous people are going to make sure that their families are very, very well taken care of. And a very common way that a lot of these families tend to do that is by putting their kids on or their spouse on, or just people in their family in general. You don't even have to be a child or a wife or a husband. Like, you could be a second cousin, a brother-in-law. Like, they're putting everybody in the family on. And so some examples of this are Lori Loughlin and Olivia Jade, Kendall and Kylie Jenner and the whole Kardashian family, Jaden and Willow Smith, Zoe Kravitz, Timothy Chalamet, Charlie and Dixie D'Amelio, Hailey Bieber, Lily Collins, Lily Rose Depp, Gwyneth Paltrow, Drew Barrymore, Barrymore and John David Washington. And so as I was preparing for this video, I was doing a lot of research on nepotism and basically everything that kind of goes into it, especially when it comes to the entertainment industry and more specifically as it pertains to Hollywood. And something that I found that was kind of surprising, but not really, like I probably could have guessed it on my own, but it was definitely a little bit more shocking, is that 99% of the examples that I found of nepotism within families were white people. And I definitely think that says a lot. And we're gonna get into like the generational wealth and building a brand kind of sense of it all a little bit later in this video, but I wanted to point that out early on just so you guys could kind of have an understanding of the angle and perspective that I'm coming from when I talk about this. And so before we get too far into it, I want to go ahead and thank SkillShare for sponsoring today's video.
I have been extremely interested in learning better time management skills, figuring out how to build my brand financially, and becoming more organized in my creative life. I have discovered several classes on SkillShare that were amazing in helping me gain a better understanding of how to achieve my personal goals. A few classes that I have thoroughly enjoyed include Productivity Time Management, How to Plan the Perfect Week by Ben Rowlands. His concise way of teaching was great because as a student, I'm limited on how much time I can spend on things outside of school. He showed me simple ways to increase my level of productivity and organize my tasks. Another class was Pricing Your Work and Negotiating with Clients by Jesse Ledoux. His examples were incredibly actionable, which has given me the confidence to put some of his methods into practice. And the last class was Productivity for Artists, Organizing Yourself for Success by Brooke Glaser. She was able to show easy ways to lay out schedules, and she helped me to recognize the distinction between laziness and being disorganized. Thinking about your future can be intimidating. Take the pressure off by starting small. Maybe you want to learn productivity tips to power more me time. Maybe the goal is to start building a personal brand style. Skillshare teachers will take you step by step. This is what I've been working on so far. I want to explore my creative and career options and learn what it takes to break into a creative industry by taking classes to find my creative voice and style. My goals are to make more time for the things that fulfill me and take my brand to the next level. What are yours? Explore the possibilities using Skillshare. The first 1,000 people to use the link in the description box will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So make sure to check out the description box for more information on how you can get your first month of Skillshare free.
Thank you so much Skillshare for sponsoring this video, and now back to your regular scheduled content. And so the first topic that I want to kind of go off of whenever it comes to this conversation is actually something that happened over a year ago, because that is when I first started planning for this video and researching and looking into the idea of nepotism as a whole. And it's actually when Kim Kardashian came out with that video basically telling a lot of people to get up off their asses and go to work. She was calling a lot of people lazy and basically saying that the reason why people don't have anything is because they're lazy and refuse to get up and just go to work, and that people like her have been able to come into their wealth and build their brand and take care of their business because they have the motivation and the bandwidth and the discipline to just get up and work.
You just have to do what you're actually passionate about, because if you don't have passion in it, it's not easy, regardless of how it looks. And I think people see things with instant gratification because of social media that they think it just comes easy to people. It doesn't, especially if you want something long term.
I have the best advice for women in business. Get your f***ing ass up and work. It seems like nobody wants to work these days.
That's so true.
You have to surround yourself with people that want to work. Have a good work environment where everyone loves what they do, because you have one life. No toxic work environments, and show up and do the work.
If you're the smartest person in that room, you gotta go to another room. Like, you don't, I want to be around really successful people because that's gonna drive me to be successful. A lot of people get intimidated to be in a room full of smart thinkers, wealthy people, whatever it is. I want to be in that room because it also scares you to want to be to be the
motivates you and inspires you.
Yeah. I'm like, I gotta hustle. So I think
also because you see everything on social media and you think, oh, it's just a lifestyle, or oh, it's like really quick and easy and you can just post something, and it's not easy. When you do product shots, when you do post things that are work-related posts, it's still a job and it's still really hard, and success is never easy. So if you put in the work, you will see results. It's that simple.
And so in this video, Kim is basically trying to give people advice on how to become successful. And I don't necessarily feel like her advice is incorrect. However, I do think it's the right message and the wrong messenger. I think that Kim Kardashian's background and just the whole Kardashian family in general, plus the Jenners, have played a very, very large role as to why they're able to have what they have today. Because if we're gonna be honest, and if we're gonna be completely honest, like no cap, nepotism is a very large part of the reason she has been able to get where she is today. And this is not me necessarily saying that Kim Kardashian has not put in the work. I mean, she runs a couple of successful businesses. She has been on a hit reality TV show for at least 10 years now, and she has also made sure to continue to build and curate and formulate the best brand possible for herself. Because at the end of the day, she was someone that was just famous for being famous, and there was pretty much nothing else to it. And she did start out as being someone that was largely known and very popular because of her sex tape with Ray J. And so there wasn't really much going for her outside of that, but because of the fact that her father was a very, very successful lawyer and her mother already sort of had her foot in the industry, and then whenever her mother went on to remarry to what was Bruce Jenner at the time, who was a famous Olympian, all of that plays a part into what's going on here. Like, you come from money, and people that come from money automatically have a leg up in the game.
Growing up in New York, I saw rich kids get opportunities they didn't deserve all the time. Initially, I thought it was just me, but there's been an uptick in videos about nepotism babies on this app. I wouldn't say that they're talentless. Some of them have talent. I wouldn't say that they don't work hard to some degree. Sure. I have wealthy clients with varying degrees of power and influence. And let me tell you something, they pull strings for their kids all the time. They're setting up meetings, then lunches, and making generous donations, and doing all kinds of shit to make sure that their kids are set up for success. Obviously, they can have this level of involvement because they have the means and connections to do so. I don't hate nepotism kids. I just don't like when they pretend that they crawled out of the gutter themselves, that their path to success wasn't expedited exponentially by their parents' wealth and status. And obviously, nepotism is a byproduct of classism and a particular power structure that continues to feed itself. Nepotism babies want to distance themselves from their privilege, and all that does is pisses people off. If you happen to have been born into privilege, that's fine, just don't deny it. And maybe use some of that privilege to help someone not so privileged.
And so for Kim to go on in that video about how people are just lazy and that's the reason why they're not successful, she is saying that from a very, 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 very privileged place. Like an insanely privileged place. And I feel like with her privilege, that is a sort of privilege that is unfathomable to your everyday person. Because at this point, we as a society at large are still recovering from a pandemic. I mean, eggs are $100 a carton. We're on the brink of a recession. People can't get jobs or don't have jobs anymore because there are a lot of people being laid off. And the people that are working are probably most likely trying their best to be able to make whatever bag that they can in order to support their families. And it's almost like it's sort of counterintuitive because the price of everything is going up at the same time that employers are refusing to pay their workers a livable wage. I mean, look at gas right now. It was going down for a bit and now it's going straight back up, and pretty much the price of everything is basically higher than a kite. Like, everything has gotten more expensive. This inflation is crazy. It's literally no joke. And there are just other major circumstances and things that people can't necessarily control, the reason why it continues to be setback after setback and they're not able to get to where they need to be because they're having to worry about all of these external factors. And to kind of go into the sort of politics of it all, I feel like the Kardashian family in and of themselves have been known to rip off a lot of black creators and a lot of black creatives in order to continue to stay relevant or come up with different brand ideas or come up with different products for whatever brand that they're trying to promote at the time. And so they're basically making a lot of money. Like, they're extremely capitalizing on something that other people should be getting credit for. And because they're taking all of the credit, they're taking all of the money and not leaving anything or giving anything back to the people that have contributed to the reason why they're successful in the first place. The original creators are paid nothing but dust. And I'm not necessarily saying this to rag on the Kardashians because it's not just them, it is a lot of other major platforms that do this as well, but I want to use them as an example because of this very specific interview that Kim did that kind of blew up and got a lot of negative backlash. And so whenever it comes to the conversation of nepotism and actually being born into a family that is wealthy and has been wealthy for generations, I was researching and I came across this article on the New York Times. It's called "What is a Nepo Baby?" and it says this: for centuries, children born into rich, famous, and otherwise powerful families have had a leg up in life, inheriting monarchies, business empires, wealth, and star power. In some cases, they've surpassed their parents' status. This is what most parents wish for their children. It is often how power works, especially in Hollywood. And to think about the conversation of nepotism whenever it comes to the Kardashian family, I think it's largely unfair for Kim, especially to use her platform, considering the controversy that she's had to go through in order to get to where she is today. I think it's unfair for her to tell people that the reason why they're not successful is because they're too lazy to actually get up and go work, especially when nepotism has a very, very large role to play in the reason why she even has half of what she has today. And so I want to quickly talk about generational wealth, because I think that is something so interesting, especially when considering nepotism, because a lot of what you'll find when you go and research nepotism is the fact that these things are being passed down maybe through generations, not always, but sometimes. And if it's not necessarily being passed down through generations, it definitely is passed through at least parent to child, especially if the parents are very, very successful. And whenever it comes to generational wealth, we all know what that means. The people that come before you in your family, your parents' parents, your great-grandparents, your grandparents, and all those people have basically set up their life to make sure that you have some sort of cushion as you're going throughout your life. And if they have set it up good enough, that means you probably won't have to worry about money or worry about making sure you're going to be able to live the life that you want to live because of poverty or because of lack of resources. And with generational wealth, a lot of the time comes access, comes knowledge, and like I said before, resources. But you have all of this money, you have all of this time, and you have all of these things and all of this stuff put in place to where you don't necessarily have to struggle to be able to get what you want and to be able to get what you want easily. And so when I think about the whole generational wealth conversation, it really takes me back to the whole USC scandal with Lori Loughlin and Olivia Jade, and how they basically paid like $500,000 to get both of their daughters into that school on the rowing team when they literally did nothing to deserve not only being at that school, but being on that team. And they were taking spots away from people that had pretty much worked their entire lives and entire childhood and go to a Division I school for rowing. It was literally a whole hot mess. This happened like 3 years ago, but it was pretty much the talk of the town, and they ended up being found guilty of the charges that were put up against them. But I just find it so ironic and so interesting that because of status and because of how it would look to the media, even when Olivia Jade expressed that she didn't want to necessarily go to college and didn't want to go to USC, if she were to go to college, her family still tried to get her in that school and paid to get her into that school because of how it would look on them, and the fact that they had done so much to create this generational wealth that they felt like if she wasn't able to go ahead and carry on a legacy that was measurable to their great name, then all of their efforts and all of their support that they had been putting behind her in her life thus far would have been a waste and would have been for nothing. And this also goes for the sister, but I think the primary person in the forefront of this case was Lori Loughlin and Olivia Jade, and that's why I'm kind of speaking more on them. But it's things like that when you think about generational wealth that kind of just make it seem like these people really can move a lot differently than people that don't have anything to their name or don't come from families that necessarily carry this type of wealth, because you do have this cushion, you do have this safety net, and if you fail or mess up, you have something to catch you instead of hitting rock bottom and basically having nothing, which is the case for a lot of people, especially when it comes to pursuing different career paths, or if you want to pursue a passion instead of something that is more traditional or more safe. And this is largely the reason why my family in particular had a large issue with me deciding to go to an art school instead of pursuing something like medicine or law right out of high school, especially considering that I was a really good student and that I graduated as valedictorian, blase. They were not really on board with it at first because, you know, the whole trope of like starving artists, you know, that thing. They weren't on board with it. And once they realized exactly what it is that I wanted to do and just how much money you could make doing it, which by the way, I study lighting design and technology with a concentration in lighting console programming. I know it's a mouthful, but these are jobs that can make you like $90 an hour. Like you can be making anywhere upwards of like $900 a day doing this job. I wouldn't even have to work 12 months out of the year if I didn't want to. I would, you know. But this is a lot of the worry that a lot of families that necessarily don't come from money have whenever it comes to their children, especially when they have children that they think will be successful. They want them to pursue something that is safe because it lays the foundation for a generational wealth to be started. And in conjunction with generational wealth being started, it's almost like you're breaking the cycle of poverty. And a lot of the times whenever it comes to that, families have once in a generation opportunities to do it. And if they miss it, then there's no way they're going to be able to break into that generational wealth to make it better for the lineage that comes after them. Another topic that comes to mind heavily whenever I'm thinking about generational wealth is everything that happened with Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith back at the Oscars whenever he went and slapped Chris Rock. A lot of people were talking about how he was going to basically be blackballed from the industry. He was never going to work again, all different types of stuff. But one thing that a lot of people failed to talk about whenever they were considering him being blackballed and never being able to see work again was the fact that he had been able to build generational wealth for himself and his children and his children's children and his children's children. Like, his family probably will never have to work again a day in their lives with the way that his career has been set up and how successful he has been. And those are the benefits and the perks and the privileges that come along with being in a family that has built generational wealth, or being someone that has been able to build generational wealth for your family, because it basically secures them and makes sure they are set to go for their whole lives, to where they don't have to necessarily worry about messing up or worrying about not being able to find a career that's suitable for them, that's able to make them money to live comfortably. Like, they already sort of have that safety net around them, and so it's not really as big of an issue for someone who is, let's say, born into poverty.
I think a lot of these nepotism babies genuinely think that they work just as hard as everyone else.
And this isn't just for acting. When I was trying to become a costume designer, it was basically required that you work for free. Even when I got my first off-Broadway contract as a dresser, I had to fight with the company to pay me minimum wage. It's not even so much about getting your foot in the door. You need to be rich enough to survive being completely unpaid for a job that you are expected to spend 60 to 80 hours a week on at a minimum. You are also encouraged to not set personal boundaries or say no to people, because that might hurt someone's feelings and then you might get blacklisted. It's impossible to succeed in the entertainment industry as it is if your parents are not paying your bills.
And so I just personally find it very interesting, the whole conversation around generational wealth, because it definitely is something to consider whenever it comes to nepotism, because it plays a very large role in the reason why a lot of these nepotism babies are able to go about what they're doing without having to worry about maybe the consequences of failing or the repercussions of their career or business endeavors not necessarily working out, because at the end of the day they still have like a little nest egg or a little safety net to run back to if all else fails. And so that brings me into the section of building a brand, because I feel like in some cases, and this is not all cases, but in most cases, especially what I've noticed as I've continued to break into this sort of content creator, social media influencer sort of realm, is that you kind of have to have money to be able to make money. And this is a topic that I have wrestled with for a while, at least a year or two now, whenever it comes to figuring out how to build the best brand for yourself, or to step into a market where you kind of have to start from scratch and do something that you've never done before. You have to be able to have something to invest into that before you can actually do it. And I think a lot of the times whenever it comes to nepotism and also generational wealth, but anyone that's just trying to start out something new, it's always easier when you have the funds, or when you have the resources or the sponsorships or whatever to back you up whenever you're going into a new business venture or trying something new, or just starting a new hobby, going to school, whatever the case may be. You have to have a certain amount of money to be able to make a certain amount of money. It's the same principle whenever it comes to investments, because like I said, it gives you access to resources, it gives you access to networking and making connections, and a lot of other things that will definitely help you that normal people don't necessarily have access to. And an example that I love to bring up whenever I talk about this is Kylie Jenner, because a little while ago Forbes magazine named her like the youngest self-made billionaire or whatever, and a lot of people really took offense to that and were basically calling BS, because people were like, first of all, is she really a billionaire? And second of all, is she really self-made considering the family that she comes from? And a lot of people were also upset because of the fact that she was basically profiting off of a feature that Black women tend to naturally have, but that is neither here nor there and is besides the point for what we're talking about.
This is how Kylie Jenner tricked the world into thinking that she was a billionaire. In March 2019, Forbes named Kylie Jenner the world's youngest self-made billionaire at just 21 years old. This came with a lot of controversy, as people claimed that Kylie was not self-made and she inherited her wealth from her family. Kylie actually defended her self-made title by saying that her parents, Kris and Caitlyn Jenner, cut her off at 15 years old and told her to start making her own fortune. But in May of 2020, Forbes stripped her of her billionaire title, stating documents showed the business was much smaller than the family claimed for years, leading her to lose her billionaire title. Forbes has never been 100% accurate with their lists and calculations. Forbes calculates net worth by asking wealthy people to provide their own net worth. Then they evaluate their public assets, their private assets, and lastly they'll get an expert opinion. Today, Forbes values Kylie Jenner at just under $900 million. Bottom line, she's still a great businesswoman who's taking advantage of her fame and building a business worth millions. But the truth is, we'll never know how much money someone actually has.
Is it fair to call her self-made?
I think she's self-made because, I mean, listen,
My girls, you can say that certain things have been handed to them, but it takes a lot of work to do what they're all doing.
So she may have the name, which is the leg up, and the notoriety of the TV show.
Right, right.
But the money is all hers.
Right. We're talking about money, and the money she's made is her own. It began with her own savings. She put her own blood, sweat, and tears into it. It was her idea. It was amazing what she did and what she showed us, the rest of us, how to do it.
There was tons of talk around the conversation of Kylie Jenner being a billionaire and how valid it actually was, considering the fact that there's no way she could have been self-made if you just look at the family that she came from and all of the money and resources and connections that they put behind her to catapult her forward and to make sure that she was going to be at least somewhat successful. Because it's definitely not easy building a brand, and everyone that builds a brand is not going to be successful with that brand. And I think there are a lot of people that try to have different business ventures and try to do different things, stepping out of their comfort zone and trying to just pursue passions, and it doesn't always work out. And a lot of the reasons is because, one, they may not have access to the resources, they may not necessarily have the knowledge, and the biggest one, they probably don't have access to the money that they need to be able to start it and run it and sustain it successfully. And so I wanted to bring up another article that I ended up reading about nepotism. It's called Nepotism Babies Are Everywhere, the internet's latest obsession surrounding celebrities. And it reads, as one digs deeper and deeper into the celebrity nepotism baby rabbit hole, one begins to realize that practically half of Hollywood is comprised of nepotism babies. Recognizable names like Drew Barrymore, George Clooney, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Mia Farrow are all nepotism babies that have outshined their parents to stardom and built their own names. The New York Magazine recently released their December issue titled The Year of the Nepo Baby, which depicted various nepotism babies as actual babies. Their cover, which only fueled young people's new fixation, featured John David Washington, Dakota Johnson, Jack Quaid, Maude Apatow, Zoe Kravitz, Ben Platt, Lily Rose Depp, and Maya Hawke, among a plethora of other names within the magazine. Unsurprisingly, there are even nepotistic family trees that, with their Nepo baby branches, technically count as Nepo families. The most well-known Nepo families in the showbiz department include the Coppolas, Francis Ford Coppola, Sofia Coppola, and yes, Nick Cage, and the Chaplins, where Charlie Chaplin is everyone's grandpa. And of course, arguably the most famous, the famous family, the Kardashian Jenners, with their ongoing reality TV show that still accumulate attention 15 years after it first aired. So what's the big deal? If nepotism babies are basically everywhere, why is Gen Z and the greater part of the internet obsessed with them? Do we hate them, love them? What is happening? Nepotism babies remind us that life isn't fair in and out of Hollywood. The existence of nepotism babies exposes the importance of connections and how not just anyone who works hard or has talent can make it in show business, or any line of work for that matter. Many live under the self-built umbrella that is meritocracy, firmly believing that elbow grease, a little sweat, and raw talent is all you need to succeed in life, even though we live in a society where nepotism has thrived since practically forever and will continue to thrive for all of time. The phrase nepotism baby is just another way of helping people realize their false sense and believe in meritocracy, working by uniting the many who have had to witness common injustices, such as friends benefiting from nepotism and receiving the upper hand. And so I really love this article because it definitely spoke to just how often and how largely occurring nepotism is, especially in industries like entertainment, but also in industries just across the professional field in general. And it shed light onto the fact that nepotism actually gives people an upper hand and allows them advantages in life that regular people just simply don't get. And I think because Generation Z is kind of just finding out about this or has just become fixated on it, it's definitely bringing awareness to the fact that it is something that exists, and the people that we are seeing on the screens and doing commercials and a bunch of other things in that similar vein may just be linked or have gotten to where they have gotten because of the fact that they are well connected or are born out of nepotism. And of course, that certainly helps when you're building a brand, because if someone can sort of establish that name for you before you walk into the door, you're pretty much all set. And so I definitely want to talk about privilege because I think it's the perfect segue. And as always, I'm going to provide just a basic definition so we can all be on the same page. Privilege is a special right, advantage, or immunity granted or available only to a particular person or group. And so I think in the case of nepotism, these people have like an extreme amount of privilege, and sometimes they recognize it, but a lot of the times I feel like they don't even realize the extent to which that is, because they're not really a part of the general society. Like a lot of the times they're in the top 10%, top 5%, top 1% of the population, simply based on the amount of wealth that they have attached to their name. And even more so if it's it's considered extremely affluent. Their privilege makes it really easy for them to get things. And I feel like one thing that a lot of people are missing whenever they're arguing these points about nepotism is not only the fact that they just get things, but the fact that they're able to retain these things. And I think a lot of the times when it comes to holding on to something that you have been given or been awarded or worked your way into, it can be really difficult to retain it. But if you have someone constantly vouching for you, or if you have a particular last name attached to your identity that people are constantly looking back at, they're willing to give you chance and chance and chance over again because of who you're attached to and who you are, whose daughter you are, whose cousin you are, whose family you're a part of. When I feel like the everyday average person would not necessarily get those same chances. And if it's the case of you mess up and you get fired, a regular person has 1 strike, whereas a nepotism baby might have 5. And that's just a difference that I don't think people understand or people realize. It's not just about getting the deal or getting the job or securing the money. It's about being able to retain all of those things as well.
So recently, due to a article coming out, there's been a lot of discussion about nepotism in certain industries. And I thought I'd talk about my experience with nepotism in the modeling industry. I'm not a Nepo baby. Oh my God. Being a nepotism model gets you so much more than just gigs. That's what people think. That's all they think. They think, oh, it's just work. Nepotism babies, they just get work. That's good. No, it's not just that. They get it so much easier. And I'm so tired. I'm sorry. I'm so tired of like a Nepo baby doing an interview like that and then being like, yeah, no, but I work so fucking... Shut up. For real. Like, I don't care if you're working now. You didn't work to get into the career that you're in. Let's be real. Let's talk about that. So getting into the modeling industry, first of all, it's changing now, the modeling industry, but to apply to some agencies, you need to be certain heights. And some of these Nepo babies are not those heights. So modeling agencies wouldn't even look at them to begin with. Moving on, in your contract of a modeling contract, you're kind of told that you can't really change that much. You can't change your hair, you can't get tattoos, you can't gain or lose weight, that kind of stuff, because the modeling agencies basically just trying to sell you, which kind of makes sense. The Nepo baby is able to do that. They can get as many tattoos as they want, they can change their hair, they can gain or lose weight, like that. They have a career. And even if they're going against their contract, I doubt that they care that much, because they could just jump into another field the next day if they wanted to. Why not? And that's what jars me, because being in an industry, having that perspective, knowing what they can get away with, it's annoying that all that people think that Nepo babies are getting are jobs, because it's not. They're getting so much more than that. That's just like the cherry on top for them. They don't have to sit through hours and hours of free work. The amount of free work I've had to do, I've been extra in music videos, just not even to care about the music video, just to get contacts, hairstylist contacts, photographer contacts, videographer contacts. Like, the shit that I've had to do to get to where I am now in my modeling career is crazy, and they've never ever had to experience that, and they never will. Their first job was being a Chanel ambassador at 16. Like, that is not you working, that's you being given, you know? Sorry, it's true, bestie.
Because being a Nepo baby and having this privilege affords them a certain level of education and access. They have a safety net around them, making it very easy for them to bounce back if they fail, or even experiment with a bunch of different things before they figure out what they actually want to do. And this is not me saying that privilege is a bad thing, because I definitely think that if I had a certain level of privilege, I'm definitely going to take advantage of it through and through and through. And I feel like if you have a certain level of privilege, you should obviously take advantage of it, because who would you be to waste something that has been given to you without you having to work for it? Like, it's almost like a no-brainer, you know what I mean? If you have the resources and materials to boost yourself up and get yourself out there, I definitely think you go for it, you use it. And I don't think any of these people are outside of their right by doing just that. My problem comes from privileged people speaking down on those that are underprivileged, especially when it's from a place of condescendence, when they don't know anything about what it's like to struggle. Because when you've been fed with a silver spoon all of your life, how could you ever know what it's like to eat with your hands? And so my main point of this video is basically to stop letting rich people trick you into thinking that the reason why you're not successful is because you're lazy and you don't work hard. Because for a lot of these people in Hollywood and in the entertainment industry, nepotism is a large part of the reason why they have what they have and are where they are today. And without it, they probably would be in your same exact position. And also, I just think it's bad to take advice from people who have never lived a day or had to walk in your shoes, but that's neither here nor there. Because there is definitely definitely a difference between pulling yourself up by the bootstraps and coming from nothing or getting it out of the mud, starting from the bottom, versus having an upper hand or getting a head start because of your family and your backgrounds. And so I want to go ahead and read another article that I found, and it's titled Pull Yourself Up by Your Bootstraps in American Mythology. And it says, these American idioms all express the same ideology, that we exist in a meritocracy, a vacuum void of systematic oppression. If anyone anywhere merely works hard enough, the seemingly cemented hardships of poverty, discrimination, illness, etc. become malleable and one can craft the life they wish. This is false. The validity of a meritocracy is founded in the assumption that we are all either on an even playing field from birth, or that equity can be attained once one reaches an age of independence from their adolescent socioeconomic situation. These are all ill-founded and simply wrong assumptions for three main reasons. One must prioritize basic necessities prior to pursuing anything else. This, coupled with finite resources, makes poverty cyclical. The discrepancy in quality of and access to education limits the knowledge and opportunities given to those unprioritized by the U.S. education system. Racial and gender wage gaps do exist and impact the lives of those who exist in these categories, which in turn impacts their ability to overcome adversities. And so I kind of want to just go into this a little bit because I definitely think it is a very, very interesting notion. One, highly disrespectful to tell someone to pull themselves up by the bootstraps, especially knowing good and freaking well that you have never had to get nothing off the mud a day in your life. However, I feel like whenever it comes to America, one of the main ways for you to get big and grow, like actually really grow, is if you know people, or in this case, nepotism. If you have money yourself already and want to build off of that, or if you sell your soul in a certain industry, and not everybody is willing to do that, and rightfully so, because our system isn't necessarily built on a work hard as heck and you will reap everything that you worked so hard for basis. People are cheaters, thieves, scammers, schemers, greedy and trifling, and will do whatever it takes, whatever they need to do in order to be able to get to the top. And they do not care who they have to step on in order to do it. Because at the end of the day, the love of money is the root of all evil. It's immigrants who come here and work hard and still have nothing. Heck, it's people that were born here who have been working since age 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, working 2-3 jobs a day, busting their behinds to be able to go and make money and make ends meet, who still have nothing. And so in the case of Kim Kardashian and in the case of nepotism babies just in general, I can understand why people would be upset. So many of them are extremely blessed to be able to say that they haven't had to really pay attention to the American system and the way that things work for us regular people. She has access to resources and financial resources at that, which is something that we generally do not have. And that's how the poor people stay poor and the rich people stay rich. And granted, there are some people who really did get it out of the mud and were able to become successful and work hard to build up their brands and get their money. I'm not talking about those people or their situations. But in the case of nepotism, oh yeah, it really does breed success. And so as the conversation of nepotism continued to get more and more popular through December and into January, it was very interesting hearing different celebrities and nepotism babies speak out on their experience with nepotism and their thoughts and feelings on the way that nepotism has worked in their lives and how other people were perceiving them because of finding out their status in relation to nepotism.
King Combs is a Nepo baby.
Right. Hey, to be fair, King Combs did put out a lot of songs that did not hit.
That's proving the point.
That's proving our point. As many chances as he's getting, it's because of a direct link to who his dad is.
Some of these kids were literally born to do this just by osmosis. Steph Curry's a Nepo baby, you know what I mean? Like his dad was in the league. Curry.
No, that's not. Like he's not good or where he's at because of nepotism. He's good in where he's at because he has a good upbringing.
So let's switch it, right? Think of Coi Leray, right?
Her father.
Exactly. She's technically a Nepo baby because she grew up in the industry, right? But Coi Leray already has put out better music than her dad ever did.
But there are other people who have the right to feel like, fuck, you skipped the line. And that's just the lay of the land.
Is it bitter syndrome? Niggas being
no,
bitter?
it's just standing in line at the deli and one of the regulars come in and they skip you. You're like, yo, what the fuck? Denzel's son. Phenomenal roles he's played. I'm not mad that you're using it. We get mad that you're abusing it.
And to me, it was very interesting because it seemed like a lot of their takes were extremely out of touch and not based in reality. And I'm not necessarily surprised by that, but it definitely is shocking to hear some of these people say some of what they were saying out loud and they they actually believe it, because to me it seems like common sense. You get a leg up because of who your parents are, and it just is what it is. We're not necessarily saying it's a bad thing, but we're just pointing out the obvious. But a lot of them like to deny it because they like to think that they were given whatever they were given and were able to get certain opportunities fair and square, when people don't realize that bias plays a heavy part into the way humans decide things just in general. So if you know somebody that knows somebody, if that's your homeboy's daughter or your good friend's little cousin, like, you're gonna be considering them above all else because you have a more personal connection to them. Do you know what I mean?
I am begging Lily Rose Depp and all Nepo babies to just shut up and stop being delusional about nepotism playing a role in their careers. Lily Rose Depp did an interview with Elle magazine and she completely denies the fact that nepotism played a role in her career. Pause to read this part of the interview. I don't know why I'm shocked. I expected more out of Lily Rose Depp, but of course she turns out to be just like every other Nepo baby. If somebody's mom or dad is a doctor and then the kid becomes a doctor, you're not going to be like, well, you're only a doctor because your parent is a doctor. Shut up, Lily Rose Depp. It makes absolutely no sense. It has nothing to do with you being a Nepo baby. Not saying Lily Rose Depp is talentless, but 10,000 girls auditioned for The Idol, and you cannot convince me that Lily Rose Depp got the role solely based off of merit and talent. People are never able to pursue their actual passions because they literally have to work to survive. Something you wouldn't know, Lily Rose Depp.
And so for me, it just seemed very tone deaf to sit up there and say, well, I haven't gotten these things because of who my dad is, or I haven't gotten these things because of who my mom is. It's because I work hard. It's because I'm going crazy in the studio. It's because I'm reading these lines like no one ever could read these lines. It's because I'm rich and I'm pretty. Like, come on now, be for real. But to me, that's just on one hand. I really do appreciate whenever it comes to celebrities that actually understand and acknowledge the advantages and privileges they have whenever it comes to nepotism, because it definitely is something that gives you a leg up and you really can't deny it. Granted, you do have to put a certain level of work in order to be able to maintain these things and in order to be able to prove yourself once your foot is in the door and once you're recognized and chosen. However, you can't deny the fact that your name probably got your foot in the door in the first place, or probably got the casting director or the modeling agency to take a second glance at you because of the fact that you have a particular last name. It's definitely a fine line to skate because nepotism is so prominent in the entertainment industry and in Hollywood and in certain spaces like that. It definitely is something to consider whenever you're going to see movies and watching different television shows, because a lot of the times the people that are involved in those things come from families that have a history in the industry, and that is how these people are able to get these jobs, which is absolutely insane. Like, it's not really insane, but like, it kind of is, that people have literal generations and legacies in Hollywood. A lot of people were like born for this for real, and that's kind of crazy. Imagine being born for this for real. A lot of people bring up Rihanna and A$AP Rocky's baby whenever they talk about this, and even like Blue Ivy and just other children of celebrities, and they talk about how they wonder if these children realize who their parents are, and I feel like eventually they will realize who their parents are. And I think too, whenever it comes to nepotism babies, especially if people know you are a nepotism baby, they almost see it as your responsibility to uphold the name that you carry and to uphold the reputation and legacy that is behind you, especially if it is something that is great, and especially if it is something that definitely was laid as a foundation and paved the way for you to even be there, especially if you're going into a similar field or the same field as one, if not both of your parents. All right, you guys, so that is it for this video. If you made it this far in the video, go ahead and comment this emoji so I know you made it this far in the video. Thank you so much for watching, and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and if you enjoyed it. That would be incredible. That would be amazing. If you have anything else you want to add to the conversation of nepotism and Nepo babies and how nepotism breeds success, go ahead and put it down in the comment section. I would love to start up a conversation and chat with you guys, because I think this is a very, very interesting topic, and it's definitely something that has been like weird to just see a lot of discourse online about, but I really did have fun planning the video. So I'm interested in seeing what you guys have to say about the contents and just about the topic in itself. And another special shout out to SkillShare. I just want to thank them again. Thank you so much, SkillShare, for sponsoring this video. It definitely is a pleasure being able to dive into different topics of interest that I have outside of creating content and outside of school and pursuing lighting design and things like that. So I love being able to get on SkillShare to go and brush up on some things that I don't necessarily get while I'm at school and don't get to explore and dive into as someone that that is creating content all the time. I have loved being able to take courses about time management and how to continue building a successful brand. That has been like incredible for me. So again, thank you so much to SkillShare for sponsoring this video, and make sure you guys go ahead and click the link in the description box so you guys can get a free trial. The first 1,000 people to click the link and sign up will be able to get a 1-month free trial of SkillShare, so you will be able to brush up on some things that you're interested in diving into as well. It's incredible. So yeah, if you like this video and want to see more from me, don't forget to go ahead and subscribe to this channel, as well as clicking the notification bell so you never miss another one of my uploads. We are on the road to 20,000 subscribers, so if you are not subscribed, make sure you go ahead and subscribe so we can grow our family and continue to get bigger and invite more people into the community so we can keep having incredible conversations about different topics. And if you want to follow my lifestyle and beauty content, you can subscribe to my second channel. That is where I post all of that stuff, vlogs, hair care, self-care, all of that is on that channel. And if you want to keep with me outside of YouTube, you can follow me on all my social media. I'll make sure to have everything on the screen as well as linked down below. And yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to be the light, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.
We'll be right back.